Good evening. It is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. As we continue on through our devotional look through the Gospel of Mark, we come to the climactic event in all of human history, the crucifixion of Jesus. In Mark chapter 15, verses 16 to 32, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation, second edition, we see the soldiers took Jesus into the courtyard of the governor's headquarters, called the Praetorium, and called out the entire regiment. They dressed him in a purple robe, and they wove thorn branches into a crown and put it on his head. Then they saluted him and taunted, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they struck him on the head with a reed stick, spit on him, and dropped to their knees in mock worship. When they're finally tired of mocking him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be crucified. A passerby named Simon, who was from Cyrene, was coming in from the countryside just then, and the soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. Simon was the father of Alexander and Rufus. And they brought Jesus to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. They offered him wine drugged with myrrh, but he refused it. Then the soldiers nailed him to the cross. They divided his clothes and threw dice to decide who would get each piece. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. A sign announced the charge against him. It read, "The King of the Jews." 2 revolutionaries were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. The people passing by shouted abuse, shaking their heads in mockery. "Ha! Look at you now," they yelled at him. "You said you're going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Well, then save yourself and come down from the cross." The leading priests and teachers of religious law also mocked Jesus. "He saved others," they scoffed, "but he can't save himself. Let this Messiah, this King of Israel, come down from the cross so we can see it and believe him." Even the men who were crucified with Jesus ridiculed him. You see, first the agenda was humiliation and degradation of Jesus. They brought out all of the soldiers to witness his humiliation. The crown of thorns was both a physical torture as well as a derogatory insult to the reigning King of Kings. They denigrated him verbally, physically, and emotionally. They forced a man named Simon of Cyrene to carry his cross. And there's a parenthetical comment that Simon was known to the believing community through his sons. Jesus refused the anesthetic of the day, and they nailed him to the cross. And they weren't shiny round nails like we're used to. They were large square nails, inflicting pain and agony. He was not the only person being crucified this day. There were 2 others. Many of the passers-by joined in the humiliation and the insults, the mocking, attacking his divinity and his power. Just because Jesus can do something does not mean he will do something. They taunted him anyway because they did not understand that. It is very evident that part of the agenda of the Jewish leaders was to publicly humiliate Jesus. He'd been badgering them for months, calling them whitewashed tombs and empty vessels, warning the people not to follow them and to avoid the leaven of the Pharisees. Now they were getting theirs back by making sure Jesus was publicly humiliated. Talk about one of history's greatest backfires. Name-calling and public humiliation are always the refuge of the insecure and immature. It's one thing to disagree and have an adult discussion about areas of disagreement. But when you degenerate into name-calling and public humiliation, you showcase your lack of character more than anything else. The cross was a demonically inspired method of torture and execution. It took a long time to die. usually several days of agony and partial suffocation. Paul said that Jesus showed his love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. How unimaginable is that kind of love that Jesus showed for us, and how important that we love him in return, thanking him for his sacrifice, giving us freedom. God bless you.